Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. My name is Sam Shinazi, OG 2015, and this is the flagship episode where we talk all things Cronulla Sharks. That catchphrase actually, Josh, came, I think, from Adam Newman in 2015, all things Cronulla Sharks. And then I'm not suggesting we started a movement, but everything is all things, everything. And I noticed that now. I'm like, oh, I'm sure it wasn't us. It's just one of those funny things that you notice. Anyway, this show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. And on the other end of this line, we have Josh Bolling. Josh is a SharkCast veteran these days. Technically, if we don't include Hannah Webb, he might be the youngest member of our panel, our cast. He is just back from a 3-week trip to America. I didn't think he'd get in. Then I didn't think he'd get out. But thank God he's here back in the Sutherland Shire. We went to the footy on the weekend as a spoiler, which was fun. How are you, Josh? Good to have you back, my friend. Missed you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, I think when you go overseas, you kind of fall out of the loop of life a little bit at home. Like I was missing SharkCast. I was kind of missing the footy because I was on at ridiculous times of the morning. So it was really good to come back last week and like just sit on the couch at 4 o'clock and watch some football or some NRL 360, just getting my fix again. And now I don't want any of it.
Run us briefly through your trip. What'd you do? How did it go?
That was amazing. It was everything that last year was and probably more, getting to share it with the family and my partner. Did about 3 weeks, did Vegas again, did LA, and did Nashville, which I know is right up your alley.
It sure is. Had some great times in Nashville. Where'd you stay in Nashville? What did you stay in a hotel or Airbnb?
Yeah, stayed in a hotel about 10 minutes out from the strip. So
okay.
Yeah, 10-minute Uber here or there each time. So yeah, it was a bit dodgy outside of the strip at times, but on there, like probably the safest place I've been to in America, to be honest. Really.
Yeah. I've told this story before, but we did a New Year's Eve there. And so there was a concert right at the end of the strip towards the bridge. And there was, I think, reported maybe, I don't know, like 500,000 people or something fit into the whole strip, like all the way. And we spent the night there and, didn't see an ounce of trouble, no push and shove. It was, for a New Year's Eve, it was amazing. Yeah. And that, I can't speak about any other night really, but yeah, great place. You hit some bars, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we tried to get to as many bars as we could. I mean, we really found ourselves attached to the Bon Jovi bar. I mean, that place was just right up our alley and really good service. Like they were just really lovely there, and they remembered us from the night before one time. Like got some free drinks for being Australian, which is always great. Really good service.
That like most companies, it stems from the top, and we know JBJ is a great man, charitable man. So I'm glad you had fun there. But people want to hear about the black, white, and blue, my friend.
Yes.
So let's jump into the black, white, and blue. There's a lot to get through. We're going to cover it as best we can on this episode. So Sharkies lose 38 points to 10 to the Dolphins. You and I were in the house. Our friend Claudia via New Zealand/Brisbane was in the house. Gary and Liam were in the house. They were drinking the house dry. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts now, a few days later? How are you feeling about the loss? And give us a bit of a rundown on that.
Yeah, really bad. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I usually try and find some positives, but I think we all said from the first opening minutes, I'm sure all the everyone listening saw it too, that it was really flat. It was the energy in the crowd was bad too, I thought. Because we feed off the players and the players feed off us, and there was just nothing really happening. And I think early on there was some bad signs, and you were hoping that maybe the Dolphins will just be worse and we'll be able to, skin our way through it and get a 12-10 win or something. But it just, everything we seemed to do was wrong, or the plays were, delayed, like passing was bad, or defensive efforts were really poor, especially on that right edge. I'm sure we'll get to that. It was all at sea, and don't know about you. I never felt like we're going to win, to be honest. Like, I know we said a few times, we can get one, maybe we can get two, and we can skip away a little bit and get away with it. But it just didn't really ever feel like that was going to happen.
Yeah, I think I was the one holding out hope in the upper Andrew Ettinghausen. So that was me saying that. I think if we get one, we get two. I think if Stone Street gets that try, it's a big if, and he did amazingly. I think that we're 2 points behind with 10 to go and it's game on, but that wasn't meant to be. We didn't really deserve it, whether you believe in deserves or not. I wasn't in the camp of we're never going to win this, but I saw it as an uphill battle the whole way, and mainly because of their domination with their mobile forward pack. So, yeah, it wasn't a good one. And Fitzy said it a few times in the press conferences after games, and it's not a quote, so don't quote me or him on it, but he said more or less things about hoping it would go away, hoping we'd kind of turn up and it would happen rather than making it happen. And I think there's a bit of a theme there for the Penrith and the Dolphins game. And that's something you can snap out of pretty easily. Like it's a reality check. It's a kick in the butt. But I think he's on the money there in that you watch them turn up and you can't say they didn't try. You can't say they didn't put in an effort because they did. But it certainly wasn't the effort that we required or thought was coming. And I think that'll be the big change this week will be the energy and just the 1%ers this week. Like that'll be hammered into them all week. And by the time they get to Canberra on Sunday, it's a slightly longer week. I think they'll be ready to go. But yeah, the Dolphins game, definitely alarming in a lot of ways.
It is. And also, I guess what I will say is we've had this problem with the Dolphins since day one. And, you just have those teams that you just don't match up well against. And there's teams that you always match up well against. Like, for example, we always seem to do well against the Cowboys. But we always seem to struggle against Penrith and the Dolphins now. So I think there's just maybe something about the play style that we just don't seem to be able to cope with. Maybe it is that smaller mobile pack that move the ball around a lot, move our big guys around up and down, side to side. But they're going to have the effort is, and the 1%ers, as you said, are going to have to improve, or it's going to happen again on Sunday, because Canberra have had a kind of shaky start too, and they're a bit under pressure, and Sticky's not going to want to go back to back at home. Back to back losses, especially after they got, they've been pumped already this year. So it's a big game for both clubs, and I am a little nervous about it, but I'm not, I'm definitely not throwing the season away or anything, but it's time to see something.
Yeah, for sure. Right edge, Nickera and Raymond in particular, like they're not alone on that right edge, to be fair, but they were the kind of center of it, so to speak. We saw Herbie Farnworth just absolutely go bonkers against the whole team, but that was his channel as well, so he made them look not great. Again, I'm not going to say the effort wasn't there because they were, maybe for the last try with Britt, but aside from that, they were putting their bodies on the line. It just wasn't happening. They couldn't contain the offloads. And Herbie's just in elite form, but it's their job to bring him down, and they couldn't do it. We have seen some change this week moving forward, which we'll get to. Taking the right edge out of it, Josh, was there anywhere else you felt that you were worried by moving forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a few things. I was worried by the halves, but I was mostly worried about the middle. I thought the middle was really, as bad as it's probably been under Fitzy, maybe. I mean, it was just no impact. Besides, a couple of runs from Toby and one from Sifa where, it kind of changed momentum a little bit. And that's all it takes sometimes, a couple of big runs to get the crowd going and get the energy going in the team. But there just wasn't enough of it. Toby tried, but it's how many times can he, go supersonic at the line and get his head bashed in? So that's a major concern. I think the meters, I don't have the stats exactly in front of me. I know the meters were really bad for everyone. Yeah. I don't think AFB ever cracked 100 meters. He looked a little lethargic. And
so let's stay on the middles. Do you think, because all of a sudden everyone's talking about we're too big, 6 again is going to kill the Sharks, etc. Are you buying into that? Or do you think that's fixable? Do you think it was a really hot day? They're coming off a tough game. They just weren't themselves. Because I'm sort of somewhere in the middle there. I don't think that it's as simple as going, this new rule is going to kill the club. I'm sorry. I understand tall Tom is huge. I understand AFB is wide. But they're professional athletes. They can get it together. They're not exactly mobile, but then you wouldn't really say AFB before this 6 again came in. You wouldn't really say he wasn't mobile, like he's kind of stocky and can get around. So it might be just a tinkering for me of the forwards, but what are your thoughts on that new rule and what you saw on the weekend?
Well, I'm the same as you. I think it's not necessarily a great thing with the new rule changes because you kind of build your side to be a certain way. And then when the rules change 6 weeks before you kick off, it can kind of stuff you a little bit because you've been building months, if not years, for a certain play style. And that it certainly doesn't help. But I also think that the NRL tend to do this a lot with crackdowns and what have you, where this will probably be pulled back a little bit in the coming weeks. And after, through the origin period, we might see that shift and it may go back to kind of where it was before. But it's hard to know. I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to effort from the players and just to make it happen. That's like you said, they're professional athletes. This is all they do is train to be as fit as possible to tackle and run. And they have not executed really this year besides one game against a pretty poor Titan side. So, I think the effort, like you said, is not the problem because they're obviously trying. Otherwise, every game would be 80-0 if they weren't trying. But I think it's the energy and is worried that is the contract situation of people being told maybe, you're not staying anymore. Is that psychologically playing on guys, or are they so scared to make mistakes about getting new contracts that it's playing on them? There's that side of it I'm starting to think of.
Well, that's fair, but you can't attribute that to AFB or Tall Tom, for example, or Jesse Colquhoun in the middle. So
I thought Jesse was really good.
He was good. It's going to be interesting to watch that one play out because I'm not saying that thought can't be true. Of course it could be true. Of course the new rule might screw us. But I just think that between the players and the coaching staff, they're not just going to roll over and go, oh, well, our next year or two is done because of this silly new rule. For the record, I hate the rule. I think it's stupid. I'd rather see a penalty and a game stopped. That's just me. But I'm not completely worried about that aspect of it, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think if this week it happens again, it's more evidence. But if they can kind of match a Canberra team, it will be sunny down there. You'd think it might not be blistering hot in Canberra late March, but it'll still be kind of warmish, I would think, against a really good pack. It's a really good test coming up, that's for sure. And their pack is a mixture of mobile and giants.
Exactly.
Let's talk some praise. Let's talk Sam Stonestreet. Thought he had another great game. Scored a blistering try. It wasn't until I watched the replay at home, Josh, that I realized how good that try was. Did a lot of work. To be fair, great pass from Nico Hines. Great pass. Pretty safe in the air. Some relentless punishing for him hit-ups. And a near second try, which we saw, which was pretty cool. I think that's something they need to keep doing is kicking to him. He's such a tall lad. We see with the short dropouts, they always go to him. So let's keep doing that. He'll get one. But I thought he was great. And there is a big focus on his hit-ups and getting hammered. But you know what? If it doesn't affect him, it shouldn't affect us. And I thought for the third week in a row, he's really doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree. As someone who's been doubtful of him, I've been really impressed with him. And I obviously want him to succeed. He's wearing the Sharks jersey. So I've been really impressed. I think that besides this, I thought this week he was getting a little smashed again, but the previous 2 weeks, I actually thought he was winning a lot of contact, which was really good. It's hard to sometimes not win contact when you're sprinting back and there's two massive Dolphins, players coming to get you, or Herbie Farnworth trying to jam you from the inside. So that is what it is. I'm fine with him getting smashed as long as he's making the meters before getting hit. When he's, because in previous years I've seen him kind of jog up to the line and trying to pick a hole or something. Whereas I think this year you've seen him he's getting the ball and he's sprinting back.
Yeah,
and I'm like, if you're sprinting back and getting smashed, I don't care.
Yeah, there's no
That's the
jogging at all.
difference. Yeah. Whereas I think here there was some jogging and some, not that he was scared or anything. I'm not saying that, but just I think he was trying to find space every time. Whereas
I think to be fair, he's learning on the go. You know, like he's a young dude. I know he's played footy all his life, but he's a young dude and it's played 15 NRL games. He's still a baby. So
he looks a bit bigger this year too, like just a little bit. Like he hasn't lost any pace, but he looks a bit stronger.
You'd hope that would keep happening, you know, year in, year out, building up. So really good job. I mean, I guess when you're talking about a young winger being one of your best players, there's a bit of a problem with the whole team.
Well, that was, you know, my next point was if Sam Stonestreet is our best player this year, we've got a bit of a problem. You know, he should be our 5th best player, scoring a couple of tries and, you know, contributing that way. But when we're saying he's getting points every week at the moment in our 3-2-1s and others, that's a bit of a concern for me because it should be Blake Brayley, it should be Nicho Hynes, it should be Adam Fanua-Blake, and just on the halves as well. There's been a lot of criticism and rightly so, but it is one of those things where it's like when our forwards are getting dominated and we're trying to kick from our 40 every set, and they're exhausted because Nicho is making 20 plus tackles a game, and Trindle is trying to create all these things for kind of nothing. Like it's not an excuse for them, but it's like what platform are they being set to actually create? And we've seen Blake is trying to get things going at a dummy half, but he can't when no one's winning the ruck and he's not able to jump out. And he's making 55 tackles a game.
Yeah. The only thing I dispute there, Josh, is that on the weekend, we did have time in the opposition 20.
Sure.
And not a lot was happening. And in a lot of ways, it was quite clunky. It was a little bit of running into each other, that kind of stuff. But your point stands. Like they can't create magic out of nothing for 80 minutes. They can do it once or twice, but yeah, the forwards have to do their job, and they're not doing their job at the moment. So that is a problem for the halves as well. Trindle had a quiet first half, but he really threw himself into the second half, and I was really happy with that. And you can see the difference. There was a bit of a chance from the 41st to the sort of 70th minute. There was a bit of a chance we might do something, and that was based on Trindle's attack. We saw the nice try assist, which I spoke about from Nicho Hynes, but we need a lot more from him. But yeah, just a generally flat performance. I spoke to the three back rowers yesterday at Sharks training, and you can hear that on a previous episode. But to a man, and even some of the guys I didn't record, that none of them really said the Penrith game was a factor. I think maybe Billy hinted it could have been, but he wasn't really prepared to say it. But Colquhoun and Wilton said, no way, that's ridiculous. So taking that from their mouths, I walk away going, okay, maybe it's just a stat thing after you play Penrith, you get smashed. It's just one of those things that's happened the first 3 weeks. We're one of those victims. I think, again, without being too wishy-washy, I think the truth's somewhere in the middle. But if the players are saying that, then I have to take a lot out of that.
Yeah, I think, Sam, it was something I was thinking about, and I said it on the day that when things aren't going right for us, we don't stray from the plan, and that can be, typically that is a good thing to do. But when it was the 50th minute and it was clear that we were going to need to do something a little special or outside the box, we didn't do it until the 70th minute, and we actually started creating chances. Or it's not, maybe not 65th, but when we're in our own half, that would usually be when we needed something. Will Kennedy would throw a long ball to Ronaldo in the 10-meter zone after receiving the kick, and we'd make 40 meters or score a great try or something. And they look so scared to try something out of the plan that we just would, make 4 tackles, get smashed, and put a bomb up, and, they'd be getting the ball 20 out and on their way. So I just think we need to earlier, and it was a problem last year at times, but earlier we need to try something when we know it's not working and it's obvious. And that could be a coaching thing with Fitz going down and say, look, throw it around, try something early in the set, try something when they're actually compressing their defensive line and get it to Katoa or Sam.
Like the time to do it was against Penrith in the second half when they were swarming, and you chance your arm there. That we didn't do it. I spoke about it with Blake a couple of weeks ago in an interview, and I said, I think actually it was after the Penrith game, and I said, well, what are you going to do next time you play him? You got to do something. And he was like, yeah, we'll combat that. Like, we'll come to that. And But I think you need it week in, week out, really, because there was a chance to sort of get back in the hunt last week, and they didn't, as you say, take it. But even though I said we're in the opposition 20 a bit, a lot of our time we're in our own half. So if you are doing that stuff, Josh, it can get risky. Obviously, the risk is worth it the more the game goes.
Yes.
But we didn't see it, unfortunately. The main thing is we had a great time down there at Ocean Protect Stadium. Had a lot of fun. It was great to have a lot of the crew back. Saw a lot of people around the ground. Met a lot of people who listened to the show, which is awesome. And generally up until about the 70th minute, good vibes. We saw 3 tries. I think it was in the last 6 minutes, 3 converted tries. Yeah. So that's obviously just horrendous. It makes everything worse. I don't know how much, like from a for and against point of view, it's horrible and you might regret that. I don't know really, I don't know how to respond to it because, yeah, it makes everything worse. But also, if you look at that scoreline, it's not a true indication of what happened. And, you know, some people don't care about that. I'm just bringing that up to be topical. So I'm suggesting it wasn't as bad as what the scoreline suggests. But you and I are sitting through that last 5 minutes. It wasn't pretty. Like, we weren't having fun. And the efforts were really, at that point, below par. Like, we can say that. So that was a bummer. We did see a lot of people streaming out. I think maybe even the second last try, maybe the third last try. And that wasn't pretty at all. Like that was, if I'm a Sharks official, that's concerning to see. I mean, it's not alarming. Like that's what happens. People leave.
But it hasn't happened in a while, right? We haven't seen that in a while.
For a long time, man, for a long time. Because usually we're in the hunt. If we're losing, we're in the hunt, you know. So that's disappointing. And I think everyone, you know, from the coach and the officials will be very, not concerned, but very disappointed in that aspect because, you know, you think of Fitzgibbon, you think of this Sharks team, and they do fight. They do fight to the end. Like, they might not be winning a game against Penrith, but they'll keep fighting, you know. But they lost that fight in the 75th minute, and, you know, that happens, I guess. We've seen it happen. So disappointing way to lose, but we're going to march on into Canberra this week. Anything else before we wrap that one, Joshy?
No, just when we're talking about the crowd streaming out, just remember Clinton texting the group saying, "Oh boy, I left the ground, just checked the score, WTF!" Like, because he obviously, people walking out aren't trying to, you know, they're trying to get away from the game, and then I'm sure people would have gone, "What the hell? We conceded 2 more tries since we've walked out." Like that would have been hard to take.
So, put yourself in those shoes. You're not an early walker, but say you are. Would you not have the stream on or whatever? Because I probably would.
I probably would too. So, yeah. But then maybe people just like, I need to get away from that before it becomes, you know. I understand. And I understand. I'm not putting rubbish on people who leave early. Like, that's not my business. No. Like, if you need to get home and beat traffic, why would you stay? Like, there's no issue there. It's not my style. It's not your style, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. All right, let's give a shout out to our mate Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. He's the best in the business, especially in the Sutherland Shire. Almost 25 years of experience, lived in the area his whole life. Sharks member, former Sharks sponsor of SharkCast Pod. Great fella, thoroughly recommended by us. We wouldn't do that unless we believed in him. So any real estate questions at all, Josh, whether it's buying, selling, renting, the whole thing, whatever, he knows all about it. Get in touch with him, 0410 417 450, 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes, Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. Now, the Jersey Flag team we've got, Josh, they're pretty good. They're 1-1. They should have won last week, the week before last. They won last week at Ocean Protect Stadium. They beat the Storm 22 points to 12 with Adrian Sandy getting a hat trick. And really good signs there from that team. And they are the future. So keep an eye on those guys. And also the Newtown Shark Jets lost to the Melbourne Storm. They lost 20 points to 12. If you're going to Canberra this week, you can see both teams play before the NRL. So it'll be sort of like 11:30, 11:45 kickoff for Flag, and then probably, I don't know, 2 o'clock-ish kickoff for
the Shark Jets, so 3 grades. And our junior Sharks teams, men's and women's, so to speak, are playing. Where are they playing? I think it's St. Mary's. You might want to double check that. I haven't written that down. But they're playing on Saturday at 4 games, a 4-game feast. And there's 2 rounds left in that. SG Ball is out of contention. Harold Matz, Lisa Fiola, and Tasha Gala are all within reach of the finals, which is great news. Now, Josh, yesterday I got to speak to Billy Burns. You can go hear that on a previous episode. Great man, Billy Burns, re-signed. And we're all pretty happy about that, including him. What are your thoughts on re-signing Bill Burns?
I can't believe that where we were when we signed him originally that we're here now in the most positive way. I mean, I can't believe that he's become almost, for me, arguably undroppable and like a really important piece in the machine now. You know, it's like I would have him starting every week at this point until form or injury. I can't really have him out of the team. I just think he's kind of this nice blend between Teague and Britt, where he's got a bit of skill. Like he's got a pass that he'll throw that I don't think Teague or Britt would throw. He's tough, works hard in defense, and still runs a decent line. Like he's not a Brit line guy, but he's still like we saw him make a really good break on the weekends of one of the few shining moments. You know, like he's just got something about him at the moment, and I don't think we can't afford to have that out of the side at the moment. And I'm just really happy for him as well on a personal note that he's, you know, his career was, for all intents and purposes, it was done. You know, and he's now extended it for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, I mean, as he said in the interview, he was signing a lot of 1-year contracts, and he's now got some stability for him and his wife, his partner, and it's thoroughly deserved. Like, and I said it to him. I said it's so deserved because you've come here as a fringy. You weren't wanted at the other club, the Dragons. Like the Dragons would love him right now. You know, a hardworking back rower, and you know. Did his trade throughout, and I think it was Teague Wilton said, you know, he's happy whether he's 18th man, he's happy whether he's starting, he's happy whether he's on the bench, he's just happy to be there. And he obviously has more ambition than that, but he doesn't his mood doesn't change. Like he's just this upbeat, personable, team first guy, and in great form. We've seen that. We do know that he was brought back in. I think it was it post the Brisbane game last year, sometime around then, to really bring in some mongrel to that back row. It was all a bit too nice. And Teague Wilton's not nice. You know, Britt Nickera on his day is not nice. I think Cam was still our lock. So he was brought in just to have a bit of that raw aggression. And that's what he does. And, yeah, super happy for him. He's a great team player. Like, I don't want to sell it too hard. I'm not going to say he's going to be on a kangaroo tour or anything.
Yeah.
But he's really just playing to the best of his abilities, and that's what you need out of a guy like that. I'm led to believe that other clubs were chasing him. He was a bit coy about that with me yesterday, but he chose the Sharks. I don't know what money he's on, but I would imagine he would have taken somewhat of a hit there compared to what other teams may have been offering him. So it says a lot about where he is, where he wants to be, who's around him. And we're going to need him, you know. Talakai's going to Perth next year. So it's another kind of climb of the ladder for Billy Burns. We're seeing this week he's starting. He is the next man up whenever there's a second row issue, as you've said or hinted at. You know, you keep him there for the moment, and I mean, Britt's got a broken nose, but who knows what's going on there? Maybe he's going to become a benchy again, like at the end of the year. If both of our second rowers this week, Josh, kill it, and there's no reason to think they won't, well, as you said, undroppable. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But great news. Another person signed, which is great news. Everyone's worried about the signings. Any thoughts on who might be next, or who you want to be next?
Oh, I mean, it's all it's all up in the air now, isn't it? With the way we're playing, and you're like, geez,
Yeah.
do we want some fresh blood in? Maybe we don't want to sign a few guys just to get some Billy Burns type players. Maybe, like with a little more stature for some positions. But I'm thinking, like, how many of these guys do we want to keep? You know, like, I'm struggling to kind of pinpoint someone off the top of my head that we haven't. Like, Jesse Colquhoun was the big one for me. That was one, and then Billy was probably second. Then you're looking at, do we want to maybe look at Stone Street now, because they've got to make a decision between him and Sione. Is like, there's Iro. Is he getting close to? I think did he re-sign last year?
Yeah, no, he's all right for a while.
He's all right for a while. So there's the Kennedy situation. Is he just by proxy just going to get another year because of Ison hasn't placed the boot yet, and there hasn't looked to be anyone else on the market. So that's another one up there now. And like, I think Will's probably been one of our best players.
Absolutely.
To start the year.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the mail. There's a lot we're going to talk about in the mail. I also want to tell everyone that Georgia Hanaway, our excellent half/sometimes hooker from NRLW, has signed on to the end of 2027, 1-year extension. She's been in the club since 24. She was Rookie of the Year for the club that year and helped us get to the grand final. She's a great player, great young player, well, youngish at least. And I was gobsmacked at how good she was at hooker when they put her there for a while as well. So very talented playmaker and just, really good player. I had a chat with her last year. Really great to sit down with her for 10 minutes and get to know her a little bit, and very calm, collected, younger side of playing. So that's pretty good. And just on the 6 against, Josh, what happens if it all eases up and it goes back to being a big man's game? Like, and we get rid of our big man or whatever, like it's a bit up in the air, isn't it?
The NRL have stuffed more than one team or two over the years with rule changes and what have you. Like, the Raiders are a big side and they're built around a big pack, and maybe we're seeing them suffering from that too with their start.
All right, let's tell you about the RMYC before we get going. The RMYCPH, I should say, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. Great place to go, Josh, to celebrate any kind of milestone. If you just want to meet up with a friend, could even be a date night. It's a nice place, the nice water views, great food at the galley, and very friendly place to go. Family friendly as well. Get in touch with them on 95239300. They've got a website, rmycph.com.au. Good place to go watch some football. Lots of sports are on. They're open to a decent hour. You don't need to be a member, but we encourage you to become one. That's our friends at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. And we hope to be down there soon, Josh and I, so we'll keep you posted on that one. But I think it's time to get to the mail, Josh, because we've got a bit to get through and we don't have all day to do this as much as we'd love to. So let's just hit it, my friend. Remember the old days? And you mean to play the music, the give me a da-da-da-da-da. I can't remember the song.
I can't remember it.
It's bluesy song. It's something about mail or postman or something. That's
right.
I might bring it back for a week or two. Okay. Pete's up first, and he said, first email of the year, which is great. Thanks for all you do with the pod. No problem. I'd like to put out a call to the masses, so a plea to all Sharks fans to email the Sharks to get the tackle count on the screen at Sharks home games. They do it at the Roosters game, so why can't we have it? So there you go, Josh. It's an odd one to start with. He wants a tackle count on the screen, and I'm with him. Let's get a tackle count. I love a tackle count. A tackle count's put bread on my table for the last 20 years. I love it. And also, he's been appraised for our colleague Kieran Fraser, who was in the house on Saturday. He just got off an international flight, and boy, didn't he look at Josh.
Oh, he still looked beautiful, but yeah, he was.
He looked beautiful, but he looked raggedly beautiful. Anyway, some praise from Pete. When Kieran's on the show, he wants random Shark of the Week to come back, so we can do that for you, Pete. No problem. If we don't, just remind us. We can do that. He says, I think teams have worked out Britain. with all due respect, the line running, and then they just shut him down. Time for a change. Britt to the bench as an impact player. Sharks till I die, Sharky Pete. So we can hit that one now, Josh. There might be a few more on that, which we can talk about. But do you think Britton's been worked out, or is it more of a case of he needs to add something to his game, or both?
I think both. But there's also, I think the halves play a bit of a role in that too, because they're the ones actually setting up the play, and if that's telegraphed, if it's like the, Nico or Tricky drifting across and seeing Britt coming back the other way, it is pretty obvious, and that's not necessarily just on him. I think there's more problems with his game at the moment than his line running. I mean, he ran for 60 meters or something on the weekend, which, isn't really up to standard. I mean, I know that he has those games in him where he might run for 7 runs for 70 meters, but he'd score a try or get a line break or, do something great. Whereas it's kind of just like need more than just the line runs, and they're not working at the moment. So, yeah, I just don't know if we want a $600,000-$700,000 guy, back row international on the bench as well for a whole season. So I think something has got to give there, and I don't know what the answer is.
Because some of that line running, even when he's not getting hit, so decoy running is pretty effective. Like there's been many times in the past few years where he's, it's not a try assist, but it's bordering on, a try contribution where he's done some excellent line run. So it's a tough one there. It's a tough one. He does have like champion qualities about his playing. So I don't want to do anything too brash or too soon. Like whatever I do with Britt, I want to think about it. Yeah. If he's going to be my starter, I want to think about it. If he's going to be my bench, I want to think about it. If you're going to let him go, I want to think about it. Because it could come back to bite you at some point. But I do think that, I think Pete's right. There needs to be a bit of a change. And I don't know if it's just getting more involved, to be honest. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, he makes a lot of tackles. Like he makes a lot of tackles.
He does.
And we'll talk about it throughout this mail section. There's a bit here, but just even some more hit-ups obviously would be nice. So we'll see what happens there. Thanks, Pete. Sharkologist got in touch with us via the website, sharkcast.com.au. The confidence of our playing group got smashed against Penrith. It hit home hard that they have our number. With high hopes, it must have been terribly deflating. However, you can't just throw the toys out of the cot when it doesn't go your way. It's called professionalism. Some of the players need to have a good hard look at themselves. I've got better things to do than pay $2.57 a litre for a 300K round trip to Shark Park. So getting a little bit political there, Sharkologist, but I completely am empathetic to your situation. It's a long way to go. Josh and I don't travel that far. So he's saying that even if the Penrith thing was a confidence thing, they need to shake it off pretty quick and just get on with it. And full respect for him traveling so far to watch the team. So thank you for being in touch. Corey says the Sharks side looked like a team that had no idea to win. They look confused at times. Hard to watch, but I agree with the comments of Shark legend Luke Lewis. He said, give the Sharks 2 more weeks. If they don't start firing after that, the window starts to close. Let's go up. So I agree with you, Corey. They did look confused at times. I'm not sure about the Luke Lewis quote about giving him 2 weeks, otherwise they're done. It might depend how those 2 weeks go. If they don't win, are they close contests? Are they the better team, et cetera, et cetera? I think it's a bit of a general statement from Lukey Lewis. But we appreciate you being in touch, Corey. Thank you so much. Brock says the rule changes have ruined us. They're favouring fast teams. Sharks are a slow team. AFB hit the nail on the head when he publicly mentioned in preseason the big forwards are getting wiped out of the game. Next season, we need to get some speed and more mobile players to handle the rules. Lack of speed is our enemy. We've been building for the big one under the old rules, but all of a sudden the year turns around and the game gets faster and the Sharks are now left behind. So Brock is right behind the mentality that the fast game is going to kill us. Josh, you and I have spoken about that already. We're a bit indifferent on it. We need a bit more proof. But how do they handle this, Josh, moving forward without any clarification, I'm guessing, from the NRL about next year? Because you're looking at, okay, so take form out of it, which is a silly thing to say, but take form out of it. You got Rudolph and Welle off contract, okay, two of the bigger props in our club. Then you have McInnes, smaller middle forward. Do you start weighing up how the game's going to be played next year based on the first 3 rounds? Obviously, they're not going to rush into a decision, but just having a chat. Like, what do they do for next year? How much of a factor is it?
Well, it's interesting that, like, everyone's kind of written off that, Cam McInnes' time is done here. And it's like, well, with the way the new rules are going, maybe he is someone that we need to look at keeping just because he's a smaller mobile guy that everyone's kind of talking about now. Like, he maybe becomes of value again because, but then you say, do the rules change again? And do the big guys remain relevant? I mean, there's always going to be a place for big guys in rugby league, but you don't want 6 of them maybe now. Maybe you want 3 big dudes. Maybe you want, an AFB, a Tommy, and a take your pick of Toby Uele, and then you have Jesse Colquhoun and a Hohepapuru and a Cam McInnes or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the decisions that they need to make, and they probably need. I'm sure they have more information from the NRL than we do, right? Like on what's coming and all that sort of thing, but maybe not. We know how the NRL runs itself sometimes, so it's I think it's good to have a mix of everything anyway, and then you can kind of lean. You can build. It's kind of seeing the timeline and the yellow brick road of where things are going. So I think a mix is always handy. I think we've seen Jesse Colquhoun is flying because he is a mobile, younger, fresh leg. He can ball play. Like, we don't have many guys like Tommy tries the ball play a little bit, but not really. Like, AFB is an offloader, but he's not a ball player. Cam McInnes is a bit of everything. Hohepapuru, I think we need to see more of him. I really liked what I saw him coming off the bench, a bit more agile. And he's still, you're going to have guys helping them in defense if you're worried about them being too small, like the other teams are going to be smaller too. So I think that's something to look at.
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge as we go to air about this, but I got a feeling Hohep might get a run this week, given it's he had a year or two at Canberra, a bit of feeling there. And he's more importantly, he's just in good form and needs a shot at some game time. So we'll see what happens there. First time, I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the Yellow Brick Road's been mentioned on this show.
Good song from Elton John.
Unless, I was going with the original. In my head, I went straight to the original Yellow Brick Road. But yes, absolutely, that too. So Roger has been in touch. Roger's a great man. He sends me very kind words, which I don't always read out because they're a bit too kind. But he said, and I thank him for that, he said the Sharks were in the hunt for most of the match despite looking flat and not playing their best. Don't take any away from the Dolphins. They came to play with great line speed, etc., more desperation. The scoreline went from a respectable 18-10 to a car crash. Essentially, the Sharks stopped competing in the dying stages. For them to beat the Raiders, they need to go back to the basics and attack, let the big boys dent the line before trying anything fancy. Well, I don't think the Sharks will fall off a cliff. I think we'll be there in the hunt for a top 4 or top 6 finish. Let's go. So Rogers still holding out for the top 4, top 6, which is great, which is what you and I are doing, Josh. And he thinks back to the basics for the Canberra game and let the big boys dent the line. So we'll see what happens there. Appreciate you being in touch. Stephen said the team looked gassed. So the word gassed got used a lot on Saturday, Josh, at the game, on our post-game show, in the forums, the socials, other podcasts. The team looked gassed after about 15 minutes, says Stephen, and dropped off completely in the last 5 to 10. I am questioning their fitness. So just on that, do you have any issue with the fitness right now, Josh?
I don't think so. There may be some individual pieces or individual fitness issues is the wrong word, but there might be some individual guys that maybe they look a little unfit. But I think as a team, we're still quite fit and like go the distance. Like you see, like Blake Brayley plays 80 minutes every week. Will Kennedy doesn't stop. Sione Katoa, like all these guys, they don't stop. Big guys are going to get tired.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some early moments there. I was like, oh, Tommy and AFB look gone after about 17 minutes, which isn't, that's not terrible, but that's Fitz needs to identify that and go, I need to get Tommy off right now. And we said that at the ground that he was on 5 minutes too long.
That's Stephen's next point. So my next biggest issue is bench rotation. Hazo and AFB were gone after 15 to 20 out on their feet. Now, if I can see this, surely the coach can make the change and get the others on. The coach seems as if he makes changes by the clock or a run sheet, not by visibly looking at the players and following the game. So that's a widely expressed opinion throughout, like from everything Stephen just said, from those two players to how the coach does his bench. Now, I just want to open the curtain a little bit. I can tell you that the coach doesn't do his bench that way in real time. He is watching the game closely. He's got TV screens. He's got his own eyes. He's got a set of people around him. They've got scientific data, etc. Right? I can't explain what happened on the weekend or in previous games where people aren't happy with the time they come on and off. I can't explain that, right? I too would have made the change watching that game. But I just think that, like, people can have the opinion that Fitzy's bench rotation needs work, or they can have the opinion he doesn't know what he's doing, etc. But I just think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that personally. Like, I think he knows what he's doing. Just because we don't agree with it or would do it differently doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing or doesn't care about it, or it's a thing that's down the importance of lists that he's doing throughout the day. So I'm not sure why those two guys stayed on, but I do want to also just say, like, a lot goes into that stuff. It's not just how a fan might think, where it's just like sticking to a clock or it's 20 minutes now, let's get him on. Like, they don't do it like that. So
look, Sam, it might even be a thing where it's like he needs to leave them on longer because the guys coming on to replace them don't have as big of engines. They might gas after 10, and then they need to come back on earlier. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not probably as simple as we all think it is. And they've got all the data, like you said. They are seeing this data in real time and have their plans and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I completely appreciate Stephen's point of view, because you and I were saying the same thing, going, like, he should probably come off now. Like, I get it. But as you just very well said, there are different reasons as to why it may not have happened. Another point that he wants to make is that the game's too quick for the big man. So that's the subject matter we're going through. He thinks Puru off the bench will solve the issue a little bit. He also thinks Jesse Ramien needs a stint below NRL. So his team going forward, okay. He's got Hiroti coming in for Ramien. His back row is Burns, Wilton, and Colquhoun. And his bench is Talakai, Hazleton, Kafusi, and Puru. So a little bit of a change there. So we'll see what happens moving forward with that. Thanks for being in touch, Stephen. Appreciate you. Danny says, if we are the contenders we believe we are, we don't drop performances like that. It was utterly disappointing. I'm not going to say we disrespected the opposition, but we disrespected ourselves and the fans. If we win this week, most of the fans will bounce back, but we have to remember this performance for the rest of the season. It's a line in the sand. Premierships are not won in March, but they can be lost. So just on that, Danny, I completely hear you. Very disappointing for the fans. My only problem with the line in the sand game, Josh, and I'm not suggesting it's not or it shouldn't be a line in the sand game, but you can't have too many of those in the season.
Yes.
So if we have one now, okay, I'm cool with that. But don't want another one until like round 18. You know what I mean? So
Agreed.
That's where the coaching thing gets very tricky about how to manage these guys. Obviously, you want to give them the truth and you want to tell them what happened, but that's another reason why there's not mass changes. You know, like you just can't blow it all up. But some good points there. Danny also says it's easy to call for changes, but we don't have the changes ready. In a perfect world, Gabriel and Ison come in unproven on both. They're not ready yet. He thinks they'll both get a shot this year. Now, I don't know if Ison's going to get a shot this year the way he's traveling. Now, I don't want to have alarm bells, but the guy's got to play, you would think, at least 15 New South Wales Cup games. Maybe it's 10. Maybe the number's 10. I don't know. To even have a shot. And also, Kennedy's one of our best players.
Yeah.
So it'll come down to an injury, and we don't want that. But if it does, well, hopefully. But I wouldn't be getting on the Ison train just now, so to speak, for NRL this year. It might be a wait and see. I hope I'm wrong. He wants to see Hines take control this week. He needs him to take control. And he wants AFB to go back to beast mode. If these two things happen, we'll win this week. Now, this is the first of another. Someone else wrote this same thing to me, which we'll get to later on. He says, Sam, friendships, and there's one for you, Josh, coming up too. He says, Sam, friendships and business agreements with Cronulla aside, who's the player to lead us to victory? Who do you want the player to be versus who the player will be? So some great questions. Who's going to lead us to victory? I think you hit half of the nail there, my friend. I think AFB is a big piece to us winning. And I think Blake Borrelli will be the other one. Who do I want it to be? I want it to be Nico Hines because I'm on Nico's side. And obviously, he's a big storyline to the Sharks. And he signed – people forget how long he signed for. So for us to be successful, he needs to be successful. So I would like him to be the one. Josh, what forward needs to lead from the front with AFB? And how can this forward improve the team?
Gee, that's a good question.
Great question.
Can I count Jesse Colquhoun as a forward?
Yeah, I believe that's what he is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people get a bit antsy about being a back rower as a lock and what have you. I think Jesse is the future in terms of the forward pack. So like whether he ends up moving into 10, to accommodate someone else at lock, but I just think there's so much talent in there that he could be a point of difference. I've always said, like a Pat Carrigan type. Like, he can ball play, he can be tough, he makes meters, he makes a lot of tackles, doesn't miss many, doesn't make mistakes. Like, I think if he can take his game to another level and become like 150 meter a game type guy, I think that's where we'll see like the team go to another level, having two guys that can do that instead of one. Because at the moment we don't really have another guy that does that consistently. Do you know what I mean? Like, we might, Tommy might every now and then have a 120 meter game, but AFB is the only one that consistently goes like 140 plus. And I think Jesse's hovering around the 100 at the moment. If he can bump that to 140, I think that could take us to another level.
All right, that's from Danny. He said, thanks, love the podcast as always. That's very kind. Darby has written in. I saw Darby pre-game. He said, after plenty of thought, I now realize why we lost. They weren't fired up enough. They were not fired up enough because they didn't run out to kickstart my heart. Fix this and thank me later. And what's interesting is, I believe I'm correct in saying, the Jersey Flag team ran out to kickstart my heart. I'm not even making that up. So it's still in the system, and they won. Did they win? They won. So Darby might be onto something there. I don't know if Darby's much of a Nelly guy, but now these are things I can't fix. Yeah.
In Nashville, I tipped a band $20 to play Kickstart My Heart, and it felt right. It felt right. I think we need that.
20 American dollars.
20 American dollars. It is, but that's what you have to pay to get them to play a song.
Hey, musicians have got to live. Don't worry about that. We got to live. Okay. That's from Darby. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. He's always having some fun, Darby. Just on music, Josh, some people on here are kind enough to follow what I do musically. And if you don't know that I play music under my own name. Couple of Cronulla shows coming up. One I can't reveal until it's announced next week, but it's with a guy you used to hang out with at parties, Josh, and he's been on this show before. And the other one will be at the Cronulla. It's called the Jazz and Blues Festival, but it's actually just genre-wide, a music festival at Cronulla. I think that's the end of May. So a couple of Shanaz gigs if you're around town. David sent me an article about Valentine Holmes buying a new house in South Caringbah worth 2.7 mil. Quite a nice looking house. I clicked on the article, had a little read. And as I replied to David, this man just keeps on finding ways to keep breaking my heart. He's moved in to the love of my life, who I'm no longer with, moved in somewhat down the road. So thanks, Val. Great to have you back. Graham says, a peach and a fafita. That's what this team lacks. A number one with an X factor and a prop with Mongrel. Interesting from Graham. You could argue that we have a prop with Mongrel. He just hasn't shown it in the last 2 weeks. And no one's going to suggest that Will has an X factor about him, but he's a very talented winger with some David Peachy-like aspects to his game. But appreciate that from Graham. Thank you so much. Steve says this team is embarrassing. They'll be lucky to get near the top 8. Stone Street and Brayley were the only two that deserve any credit. What do you think of Brayley on the weekend? I thought he tried really hard, but he wasn't effective because of the forwards, right? Is that the short way of looking at it?
That's how I view it.
Yeah. Okay. And here we go. Breaking news from the Sharks. It's good, so don't worry about it. The very talented Ellie Johnston has re-signed until the end of 2027. So the powerful front rower,
wonderful
NRL dub, will be with us, and she's an awesome human and an awesome prop. So that's great news. Buckwit says, dismal performance. So dismal. The Sharks offer no real resistance in defense or no creativity in attack. The fall of the team. Ooh. So Buckwit is seeing the writing on the wall. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Buckwit is saying the fall of the team. Hey, if it's in black and white, he writes every week, the great man. Occasionally it's going to get out. Apologies. Is that too dramatic, the fall of the team? Or is he saying that those two pieces maybe will be the fall of the team? Could be.
It can be. I'm more than I was 3 weeks ago. Put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. Now I got a lot of messages about this. So Lee said after watching Penrith destroy the Roosters, it's great to see we're so much better than the Roosters. Cleary is just amazing. And I got a lot of messages, and thank you to everyone for it. They're more sort of private DMs, but saying that they felt better about our loss to Penrith after the Roosters. And I understand that, and I think those thoughts, but I personally don't go to those lengths and go, oh, everything's a lot better. It's like it's not. We're still part of the problem. But yeah, they're obviously in very good form. If they can keep it up for the rest of the year, I think that I don't know. I think we need to question a few things because their line speed is ridiculous and it's just crazy. But I could see how they were amped up all summer and they'd come out firing. It makes sense to me, Josh. I was thinking about it. I kind of wish we would do it one year. We have done it before. We come out firing. They're going to have a lot of Origin guys. And so they probably look at Origin as like, oh, if we can jag 1 or 2 out of the 4 or 5 games, then that's a win.
Yeah.
Come home strong, like they're laughing. So they're a very smart club, very smart coach, obviously amazing players. This one's from Liam. He says, and thanks, Liam, for being in touch. He says, Sam, your profile with the Sharks seems to be increasing, which is fantastic. Gives you more access to players for interviews, etc. It's great for fans to get to know them more. However, how are you going to manage criticizing them when you need to criticize them on your pod? What I've always liked about you and Josh, hey Josh, and others is that you were fairly balanced, although I've always felt you were more positive, optimistic than some of your co-hosts, which is fine. However, I just hope you can still maintain a balance for you now that you are closer to the club and players. I love the work you do and the sacrifices you made for so long to bring us such excellent content. I like the different co-hosts giving you someone to bounce off. Hope we get a win this weekend. Tough game, but one we should win if we play to our best. Up from Liam. So thanks for being in touch, Liam. Good question. I don't want you to worry about it because since day one, this podcast has been about just telling the truth, and it's been about just expressing our feelings. And if a player has a bad game on the weekend, like a Ramian or a Nickera, you'll hear about it on this podcast. We've never been really ones to scream at the top of our lungs. Even when Newman was here, obviously he was a bit more, well, not obviously, if you didn't listen, Adam, who I did the show with for years, he was a lot more kind of bad guy, I was good guy sort of thing, although even in real life, we're both bad guys. But I've always said what I feel. Like, there's no sugarcoating from me. I'm not the sort of person that's going to like rip a person apart. Like, that's just not what this podcast is. It doesn't mean Josh can't say stuff or someone else can't say things, but I'm more inclined as to see, why did someone play bad? How can they get better? Who can replace them? It's not about ripping someone apart. Now, to be fair, you're just saying, how do I criticize them? Well, I criticize them the same way I praise them. That's the best way of looking at it. So the other thing is, I'm under no obligation by the Cronulla Sharks to say anything. Like, I don't have to. I'm not contracted to say anything positive, negative, or in between. So, they'd probably have a problem if I came out and said something really aggressive about a player, or if I came out and swore about a player, or if I came out and ripped someone apart, the admin, whoever, without a reason or a fact behind it. So, but I don't do that, and I've never done that in 12 years. It's just not what I do. The reason we started the show was to bring some truth to what was being said about our club. Our club in 2014, Josh, was just dragged through the mud. It was horrible. I worked for a company that did some of that, but it was across the board horrible stuff being written about us based on some truths. And, it's this show is not supposed to be some sort of like uplifting thing, but people do say to us, Josh, that it's therapeutic. They like how we calm them, etc. We're not trying to do that. That's just how we are. So I don't know if that answers your question, Liam, or not, but I'm definitely not obligated to say anything good, bad, or indifferent. I think if I said something really unkind about Blake Brayley, for example, and there was nothing of merit behind it, if I just had some headline about him and then he heard about it and then I went to interview him, he'd be like, why'd you say that? And then I'd have to answer to him. But it's not part of my DNA. I don't really, like, if Josh and I are at the footy and you're around us, you might hear me say something that I might not say on the show, or if we're at the pub, but that's just life, right? Like, it's just how it is. I'm not putting on an act. This is 100% me. I can't be a more true self, a version of myself on this show about the Sharks than I am. Like, I'm giving you everything I got, and I've probably spoken about it way too long, but appreciate the question. It's a valid question.
I would just say as well, Sam, like, to back that up completely, like, you are exactly how, maybe with a few swear words and things here and there, like, you are exactly how you are on the pod as you are in real life or in a text message. Like, you're just a more positive person generally about life, I would say. And with the football, like, people go, oh, maybe Sam's too positive sometimes. Like, well, that's just how he is. I think we're all a bit like that. We always try and find the good in the team and trying to stay positive, because otherwise why I'm going to come here and be miserable for an hour and a half talking about how everything sucks when it's like, it's just footy.
Yeah. So just on that, I'm definitely not more positive about life. I'm a bleak person in life. All you got to do is go listen to my music on the Spotify or the Apple, and you'd be like, I can't believe it's the same guy. But when it comes to footy, absolutely. Footy's always given me a lot of hope and fun and joy, even in dark times. It's still something that you throw yourself into. But you're right. Like if we just come on here and whinge for like an hour and a half, I imagine our listenership's going to go down a little bit. It doesn't mean that, like as I said, we've spent heaps of time over the years, even this year, talking about negative things that annoy us. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? But there's a way that we go about it. And again, like Josh is not obligated to come on here and act the way he does. He's acting the way he is. And that's what I do. And yeah, it's just kind of how we run the show. So hopefully that's answered your question, Liam. Apologies to everyone if it's gone on too long. Matt says, keep up the great work. Something that's really bugged me for a while is our attacking system from kick returns. Oh, I love this. Week after week, we see the back three doing hard runs out of our own red zone, often taking 2 runs in 3 tackles. Then a center will do a hit up and then we'll kick. Meanwhile, the forwards amble back, often not behind the ball for 4 tackles, including the hooker. Surely some of our 80-minute forwards can take a run coming out of our own half and actually bend the line or create a roll-on. It seems like our structure is forwards work to the posts for a Britain predictable line or crash play. It's predictable and obvious to our opponents. So that's almost letter of the week there from Matt. We saw it a lot on the weekend. So if you want a good example, go watch the Dolphins game. We saw that a lot. Like in my head, I can still see 4 of our forwards walking back and Brayley 2, and it's tackle 4. Kennedy's done 2 hit-ups. So I think they need to work on that. I don't know how you achieve that better, but what do you got to say about that, Josh?
Look, I do think that is pretty typical across the NRL that you give the forwards that break while the backs come out, and because they haven't just made 5 tackles in a row, and so the backs go help the forwards out. And maybe it might be that set. This is a rest set. And then the next one, the forwards will get back and help out. I don't see it as personally as a big of a problem because our backs typically do such a good job of doing that anyway. And we've seen like Britain Cora making 40 tackles a game and AFB's making 17 runs and 25 tackles. They need that.
Yes.
But as you said, like also there are times we get back and, help out. But the only thing I really have problems with is Will Kennedy always taking that last run before a kick, because then he can't really come through, and he always takes that 5th tackle run when we're about 40 out from our own defensive line.
So he can't be in the attacking play.
And then he can't chase the kick. Exactly, that's my problem, and he always does it. Now that I've said it, if you haven't already noticed yourself, watch the next game. He will be taking that 5th tackle every time. It's
a Nathan Cleary ploy, run on the 4th.
It is.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point that Matt makes. Josh is right that it is NRL wide, but my point stands. If you watch that game on the weekend, there was a bit too much of it. So we'll see what happens.
I agree with that. Sure.
Yeah, but it's a modern day rugby league thing. Like we talked about the back three, getting 150 meters. It's kind of how they get it. Different Matt says, I was in the Pete Burns stand on Saturday and could see right away the boys were flat. It was super humid, which suited the Dolphins. This and the fact we were coming off a Panthers game and they were coming off a Titans game may have been the difference. Fans don't like these excuses, but in the NRL, all the teams are so good. Little things like that can give you an edge. An 8-day turnaround to Canberra against a side we have a rivalry with has come at the right time. So on that, Josh, I mean, Matt's got the same view that you and I probably have on the other side of the field. It was, it wouldn't have mattered if you were in the far corner or watching on a tiny screen, watching your KO, like you would have noticed they were flat. And he's buying into the Panthers game. Now, we discussed that throughout the show, so I don't need to hit that, but that's interesting that Matt's buying into it. So some people are buying into it, some aren't. The players mostly are not. He also says, which is interesting given one of the last letters we got, he says, on behalf of half glass full fans, thanks for keeping things positive. I listen to the pod as an escape from daily grind, and even though it hurts when the Sharkies lose, We need to keep it light when the front page of the paper can be pretty depressing. This is coming from a fan who spends way too long worrying about his team. So that's from Matt. So appreciate that, Matt. Again, it's not necessarily something we aim to do. We're happy to do it. But he makes a great point. Like on Saturday, and there was a few funny moments, Josh, in the second half where it looked like we weren't going to get the dub. And then I think it might have been a lady named Emily who works at the Sharks behind the scenes. And she tapped me on the shoulder. She's walking past and she goes, "Are you doing your podcast post-game?" And she gave me a little like wry smile. And I went, "Yeah, that's what we do." And she's like, "Good luck." I said, "Thank you." And then a few people, said the same thing after that. It made me laugh. It makes me laugh right now thinking about it, just the mood that we're all in. It was like, are you still, yeah. But his point about, the front page of the paper can be pretty depressing. Man, like we're not living in great times. Let's not beat around the bush. Like things are tough, things are hard. So there is beauty in the world, of course. And part of that is the Cronulla Sharks. So we're not going to hide from the truth. The post-game show on Saturday got pretty wild. It went pretty long, but it was kind of our way of just addressing the negative without it being our sob fest as well. So, man, I wish Cam was here. There's like a giant mosquito in my house, which is rare, and it doesn't look good. I really want to zap it or something, but I'm doing a live show with you. Keep my eye on that guy. Cam, come help me. Ryan says, could this form be a little bit about missing Josh Hannay? Very aware the Titans are 0-3, but as an assistant, it's a different job. Just a thought. So I look quite like that. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing. I don't know what role he specifically played in getting the boys up or helping them out, but I mean, it's definitely a possibility. And the fact that we're an assistant down with the French bloke that's not over yet, like maybe just another voice or a calming influence, or maybe Hannay was a guy that was able to put a jet up them or something. I'm not sure. So that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know Josh is a better coach than what that team's showing.
Yes.
They've shown better signs in the last 2 weeks. So, all right. So that's all the mail. Appreciate everyone being in touch. Great mail there. Really appreciate the praise. Appreciate the questions about things like just how do we do things behind the scenes. So if you ever have those questions, don't be shy about it. We'll always be honest about it. Canberra Raiders 4:05 on Sunday, Josh. We know that Britain is out with a broken nose, I believe.
Yes.
And we know that Teague will come in. Billy Burns stays there. And the immediate bench is Talakai, Rudolph, Kafusi, and Uele. Puru's 18th man. Extended bench is Big Tuku, Chris Vela, Jaden Beryl, and Marwini. I think out of that lot, the chance might be Hohepa. And then if something goes with the back line, I think Marwini will be next man up, especially given he's he's one of two backs on the back line. But yeah, we play the Canberra Raiders and they're missing Josh Papalili, which is a positive for us. So Morgan Smithies will move to the front row. And their pack's still pretty good. So it's Smithies, Starling, Tapini, Young, Noah Martin, who's having a great season, and Corey Horsburgh. But I think we get him on the bench, Josh. Jaden Brayley, Zach Hosking, so two smaller guys. Mariota and Joseph Roddy, who I don't know much about. Have you seen Roddy play?
No, but I have raps on the other two. I do think they're very, very good players. Like the guy from he came from Penrith, there's a Hosking.
Yeah.
He worries.
He's a hard worker.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Bit Teague-like.
Okay. So it's going to be a challenge. Grant Atkins is the ref. I know people worry about the ref sometimes, but Ashley Klein will be in the box for all you Klein kind of warriors. No. What do you – we're going to do a deeper dive on this later in the week, Josh, but what do you think about – the mosquitoes on the loose. Oh, my God. If you see me go down, that's why. What do you think about what's going to happen? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about this one. I've been pretty confident every week so far, but this one I'm just more so the reaction of the players after last week. If we react well and if we come out strong and the energy's high and the confidence is there, I believe we can beat them. But Canberra have, that we really struggle against players like a Herbie Farnworth who play outside the box and just offload and kick and chase for themselves. And Canberra have about 4 of those kind of guys. And we never seem
Weeks
to do.
at fullback is great.
Savage,
Tamale's in great form. Sasagi
Hudson Young
and Sebastian Chris really good with the offload. Savage is good. Hudson Young. So they offload a lot. Now, I know people worry about our conceding offloads this year, Josh. We're conceding at the wrong time, but we're not conceding too many if you look at it from a stats point of view. So the numbers aren't alarming. It's more when they do it. And so, sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but those guys are all, very dangerous.
They're just dangerous and play off the cuff, and they're allowed to. Players that are allowed, they have that license. And like Hudson always worries me when we play him because he's one of those guys that just pulls something out of his ass when they need it. And he did it last year, and he probably will do it again this week. But look, I think if we play how we should in terms of coming back from a really flat performance, I still give us a massive chance as always.
Yeah.
Like I think we'll always be in every game before kickoff. I'm always going to give us a shot, besides maybe Penrith. But it'll depend on attitude, and that's what I'm interested to see. And I'm hoping that with Wilton starting, he's is a bit of a loose cannon mentality wise, So I'm hoping that he will inspire some of that of what we need.
Yeah, for sure. They're going into camp. I think they'll be there on Friday for a Sunday game. So they're treating it as a big game. Whether they're going to do that before the losses, I'm not sure. I can't tell you, but that's what they're doing. And just on Teague, like I've said it quite a lot on the show, but he is all business. Like I interviewed him yesterday, and there was a point where I asked him about something, and it kind of didn't rub him the wrong way, but he kind of rejected the theory or whatever. And I was like,
sure,
he could literally hit me in the face right now. Like he's a really I can't say he's a nice guy, but he's so business-like with football, which I love. Like I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
I love talking with him about football, but it's just like occasionally you forget that he's a nice guy and you go, oh man, you're like, so he's
got a bit of psycho.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Jesse Colquhoun, and I think you can hear it when I interview him, and you go listen if you haven't listened to it. But I wanted to mention him because he's such a positive dude. Like he bounces around when he talks to you. He's bouncing. I'm not sure if it's because he's young and he's not jaded yet or whatever. I don't call myself media necessarily, but by people asking him questions all the time. But I know that he respects what we do. Like he has tuned in. Like he knows all about us. But just yesterday, even after a loss, he was just so happy to be there doing his job. And I said to him, it's nice to have someone like that. It's important to have one of those guys in your team.
Yes.
Who they're not going to let the shoulders drop no matter what. He's always sort of got that positive vibe to him. So I just wanted to point that out. I think we're in a really good spot with these back rowers. It's going to be interesting to see how Britt bounces back. I'm not putting a line through Britt. Like he's a champion player. He just needs to lift a bit, and focus a bit more.
I think.
Yeah, it could be. Absolutely, it could be. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Josh, thanks for your time. I know you're a busy dude. Great to have you back. You'll definitely be a regular now you're back. I'm going to be harassing you a lot to come on the show, and because all of our listeners love you and we love you. So good to have you back. As I said, I didn't think you'd get into America now. I didn't think you'd get out, but I'm glad both things happened. You got the experience, but you also got out of the crazy house, which is great.
Yeah, it was a nerve-wracking last couple of days with everything that was kind of going on. Just being like, I just want to get out of there. And then in about 10 months' time, I think we're going to be going and doing it again.
Interesting. I've heard these rumors. Very interesting. You got the bug.
Then I'll be trying to convince you. I'll be trying to twist that arm.
Yeah, please do. So we'll be back with more episodes throughout the week. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, etc. Got a few more coming, I think. So we'll get you to Canberra, that's for sure. And until then, appreciate all your input. It's a lot more boring if you don't have your input. We would probably still jabber away for hours, but we like having your input as well, so we appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. This has been SharkCast Pod. Thanks, Josh Bolling. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Up, Cronulla.